Hello YouTube, it's Nathan again, coming to you to do another recap video. Today we're going to discuss Married at First Sight, Boston, Where Are They Now special. Now, the Where Are They Now special, it's been 5 months since decision day and the reunion. If you guys see my video last week, I recapped the Boston season reunion, and now I'm just going to do the Where Are They Now update with these 5 couples that were featured on this season of Married at First Sight. So we start out with Katina and Elijah won. Now, Katina and Elijah, when they decided to stay married, they seem to be doing very well. They are spending a lot of time together, getting to know each other. They said the only issue they're having is that they're spending too much time together, which is, I think, a good issue to have. So, they seem to be doing very well. A lot of their scenes were just them just saying how happy they were, basically. Next up is Steve and Noi. They also decided to stay married. They're also doing pretty well. Now, Noi still hasn't moved in with Steve yet, but they're getting their apartment together, getting an apartment together, and trying to make Steve's home their home instead of just a one-person home and stuff. And they're still talking about the idea of them having 3 kids, to see if Noi is ready to have 3 kids. So in this episode with Steve and Noi, what was featured was Steve's nieces came over for him and Noi to babysit them, and there was 3 kids. So it was a little test to see how they could do. They did a lot of things. They played some games. They made pizza. Ran around, made a little mess and stuff. So Noi pretty much enjoyed it. She said it was half and half. Part of me wants to have 3 kids now. The other part of me is it might be a handful, but it was a nice little scene from Noi and Steve. They seem to be doing well. Next up is Mark and Lindsay. Now, Mark and Lindsay, they decided to get divorced, obviously. It was revealed on the reunion that they're no longer together. Lindsay had moved out to New York, and not to New York, moved out to California. And she came back to Boston to sign the divorce papers. She met up with Mark, and they met up at the lawyer's office, and they mutually signed the divorce papers. After they signed, they had a little nice heart-to-heart. Lindsay basically apologized for the bowling alley scene when she went, when they got into the argument at the bowling alley, and she went into the bathroom crying to the producer, saying that she hated him and everything. She was saying that she didn't see that scene, and she didn't realize it, and she apologized to Mark for it, and Mark accepted the apology. And they seem to be cordial now. They're cool, and they talked it out. They actually probably feel better now that they're no longer together, and now they can just move on with their lives. Later, we seen Mark go out on a date with one of Steve's friends, and they had a nice little date. They just met up at a restaurant and at a little bar and stuff, and just talked, and the connection was pretty there, so they had a nice time. So Mark was a little skeptical at first, because he's I just got divorced. Am I ready to start dating yet? I don't know. So, but yeah, Mark went on his first date post the Lindsay divorce. So I'm glad it went well. Next up, Jasmina and Michael. They revealed on the reunion that they're no longer together, and they haven't even spoken to each other since the reunion. So, they weren't featured that much in the episode. They just met up. All the girls got together to meet up and talk and stuff. Jasmina says she's dating, but she's not rushing anything. She's talking to a couple people. Mike is just doing his own thing. So there really wasn't much out of Jasmina and Mike. And then here's the big one, Chris and Alyssa. Now, as you know, Chris and Alyssa, they got divorced after day 10. Because Alyssa was really just not into him. She was very rude, very disrespectful to him. So Chris called it quits on day 10. Now, Chris ended up started DM somebody from Married at First Sight season 11. Her name was Olivia. I do remember Olivia. She was with Brett. Yeah, that marriage was not good. That was actually the first season that I watched, and yeah, that wasn't that good. So Chris got with her. They went out on a date, had a good time. She seems pretty nice, and she seems like more of his type. They had a nice little date. So that was pretty cool. And then Alyssa. Now, we had a teaser last week that I mentioned that Alyssa was going to be with Ryan from last season of Married at First Sight in Houston. She met up with Katina and Jasmina to say hey, and one of her other friends that, hey, I've been talking to Ryan from last season. I'm inviting him up for a date and stuff. So they decided to go on a date. They went bowling. They go on a date. They had a good time. Ryan beat her at bowling. They had a good time. Alyssa kept on saying Ryan's more of her type because he's like country, has the cowboy boots, and she's like more into the country style of men. So she was saying, oh, Ryan's my type and everything. They had a good date. However, after every season at Married First Sight, where they now all the couples meet up one more time on a like a getaway, and Alyssa was gonna invite Ryan up to the getaway, but it was revealed last night that Ryan had been DMing and talking to Lindsay. Now, Alyssa was not thrilled to hear that. She was like, she felt betrayed. She was like, you didn't tell me like you and Lindsay were close friends. You didn't tell me that you and Lindsay are DMing each other, And Ryan was just looking like a deer in headlights. Now, I remember Ryan from last season when he was with Brett, and he was just not into it. So I can see why him and Alyssa like match well. But when Alyssa called him out about his relationship with Lindsay, he just looked like a deer in the headlights. He was like, it's not like that, and she was like, it doesn't. And Alyssa mentioned, it's not that I'm not mad that you're friends with her. It's the fact that you didn't tell me, because mind you, Alyssa and Lindsay don't like each other, so that's why it's an issue. So she kind of feels betrayed, and and she felt like if I would bring you to the getaway, I would feel like a fool. So you're not coming. And she walked away, just like typical Alyssa, just walked away after she called him out, and I was always seen on Ryan. So that was disappointing. So, yeah. So, later in the episode, all the couples decide to meet up at a getaway. They rented a cabin, and everybody showed up. There's still like a little tension because Lindsay showed up and everything. So Elijah One and Steve, and actually all the boys and Alyssa decided to cook tacos for dinner for everybody. And then they were talking, Elijah One and Steve and Alyssa were talking about, Lindsay's coming, how y'all gonna feel? And, Alyssa's just like, I don't want nothing to do with her. And Steve was just like, yeah, I don't know about that energy. So she shows up, Elijah One brings Lindsay in and everything, her and Mark were still cordial and stuff. And then later we seen Lindsay pull Steve aside, and Lindsay basically apologized to Steve and Noy about their scene from the retreat when she was roasting him about him not having a job and Noy being a stay-at-home mother. So she apologized for that scene, for like making Steve look, she basically made Steve look bad, and I guess that affected him for a while and stuff. So Steve was like, you know what, I went into this conversation not expecting an apology. I got the apology, thank you. We can move forward from this. I'm still going to keep my guard up with Lindsay, but I appreciate her for coming to the apology to do so, And then we see Jasmina and Michael at the retreat. They decided to have a conversation, and it just didn't go well. They're saying, there's just no chemistry, no communication. They just like, Michael stopped talking to Jasmina prior to the reunion and even post the reunion. And, you know, it was just like a back and forth thing with them two. They did not resolve a thing, you know, so it's unfortunate that Jasmina and Michael didn't resolve anything. And then and then in the final scenes, you know, everybody's toasting. Chris decides to bring Olivia to the getaway, and it was fine. Olivia fit in. She was saying that, you know, my season we did stuff like this, so it doesn't feel weird being around strangers right now and stuff. And, you know, everybody was talking to Olivia, making her feel at home and stuff. And then at the very end, this was the scene that I've been waiting for the whole season. Alyssa surprisingly pulls Chris to the side and actually apologizes for everything. And she was actually nice to him for the first time all season. This was their best. The last scene was their best moment of the whole season. Alyssa basically said, "I'm sorry this happened and everything. I'm sorry about, you know, I wish this worked out for the both of us. I do like Olivia and everything." And Chris accepted her apology. He said, "I wish you well." Alyssa says, "I wish you well. You know, no hard feelings." Well, maybe there might be some hard feelings, but but you know, they came to a cordial agreement, which was nice. And Chris had mentioned, like, why couldn't we do this? Is what I wanted throughout the whole process. You know, why couldn't this be like this the whole season? You know, but you know, I actually gave kudos to Alyssa for pulling Chris aside to clear the air and actually have a normal conversation. And this episode, I mean, Alyssa was smiling. This is the most I've seen her smile, laughing, clowning, and everything. You know, I do see some growth in her. The her and Ryan scene was a little when she called out Ryan about talking to Lindsay. I'm surprised she didn't cry. She didn't cry, but you know, she told him off. And, you know, Jasmina had mentioned this. You know, we all know Alyssa's quick to overreact to things. But in this particular case, as I said, she doesn't really get along with Lindsay. I actually do see her point in this, you know, and I'm still not Team Alyssa, but, you know, I do see her point in this. And I don't know, just Ryan, you're not going to get much out of Ryan. I'm sorry. You're not going to get much out of Ryan. So I don't blame her for walking away this time, but at least she didn't cry, and at least like she acted like she actually had some sense in this episode. So that was it. So the Boston season at Married First Sight is finally over. You know, congrats to Steve and Noy and Katina and Elijah one for staying together. So that's about it. You know, it was an interesting season. Like, it had a rough start, like I said last week. I didn't like nobody at first, but you know, this season they all grew on me. They all grew on me this season, and I believe they all learned something. So that's that. So Married at First Sight San Diego will premiere in July. So that's gonna be so Boston's now over. San Diego is going to be beginning in a month. I can't wait to see that. That's the first time they went out to the West Coast, so we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos. I'll see you guys Sunday and Monday for 90 Day Fiancé again. Thank you. Have a good day.